What is up, Iwu crew? Today, we are covering 5 bone-chilling hotel horror stories. At first thought, hotels most likely conjure nothing but luxurious and comfortable images. We think of their comfortable sheets, around-the-clock housekeeping, mouth-watering breakfast buffets, and breathtaking views that can't be found anywhere else. For most people, hotel rooms have a positive connotation, one that brings up images of a snug and cozy home away from home. But in the next stories, hotel rooms have played a much darker and sinister role. Here's a countdown of the 5 scariest and most spine-chilling hotel horror stories that will have you on the edge of your seat. Our first story starts at a local motel in Memphis, Tennessee. On January 27, 2010, James and Rhonda Sargent stayed in room 222 at the Budget Lodge, an old-looking yet comfortable motel nestled in the heart of the city. But while the room looked nice, the bed was a whole different story. The couple complained to staff that the bed in room 222 was stanky and foul, and burned incense sticks to chase the odor away. They also noticed a ton of fabric softener sheets stuck in every nook and cranny of the room, including the ceiling tiles, which they took as a sign that previous guests had the same issue. Despite promising that they'd look into it, the motel staff was no help. So, the Sargents decided to tough it out, burning incense stick after incense stick, as they planned to give the Budget Lodge a scathing review on Yelp. Annoyed and frustrated, the couple decided to pack up, leave, and stay at another hotel. On February 7th, about a week after they had left, the Sargents moved back to the Budget Lodge to save some money. Rotating among 3 rooms, they ended up spending one more night in room 222, whose still pungent bed and sheet-stuffed ceilings made a ghastly sight. On March 15th, nearly 3 months after the Sargents first started staying in room 222, the cause of the foul smell was uncovered. The slowly decaying remains of a woman had been unceremoniously stuffed into a box and placed under the king-size mattress and box spring.
Revealed today in the murder of Sony Millbrook. Investigators say her boyfriend killed her and left her decomposing body under a motel bed.
Millbrook went missing January 27, 2010. More than 4 days later,
February 1st, 11:38 a.m.
Moody showed up at Tony's store.
And do you remember this?
I sure do.
That's him in the yellow shirt using Millbrook's freshly replenished EBT account.
That's the EBT card.
To purchase a bottle of orange juice, to withdraw $185 cash, and then to buy a cigarillo. Defense attorneys say the video shows Moody calm and collected because he hadn't done anything wrong. But prosecutors argue it's further proof that Moody's cold-blooded, because they allege he'd already strangled Millbrook to death and hid her body in the couple's room at the old Budget Lodge by stuffing it under the bed and into that square bed frame.
Pretty soon, it came to light that the remains belonged to 28-year-old Sony Millbrook, a beautiful nursing student and mother of 5 who was reported missing on January 27, 2010, merely 2 days before the Sargents first checked in. Sony had dropped off her 4 youngest children at daycare and failed to pick them up, which worried her family to no end. Suspicious and driven by fear, they filed a report with the police. After a week of no news and no leads, the missing persons unit handed the case to homicide detectives who visited the Budget Lodge on February 4th. On the day of their visit, they put forth an endless stream of questions to staff and guests. But they never sought to enter the motel's room, an oversight that the Sargents griped in the days following the chilling discovery. If police detectives had asked us to come in, we would have let them, said Rhonda Sargent. Surely they know what remains smell like. We didn't. They would have been able to find her so much sooner than when they did. The sergeants claimed that they informed the police about the foul odor in room 222, which had been cleaned and rented out at least 3 times since Sony was last seen with her kids. However, the police and detectives denied knowing about the state of that room, claiming that not a single person had come forward to file a report. "They're a lie," said Rhonda Sargent. "We went down there every day and told them how stanky that room was." Soon enough, more information about the grim events in room 222 came to light. Motel workers told the police that they had bagged up Sony's personal belongings after she failed to return and claim them, cleaning the room and opening it up for rent afterward. She had been staying there with her family, along with her boyfriend and father of her 4 youngest children, 38-year-old Lakeith Moody. Naturally, Lakeith became the primary suspect in the murder case. The police launched a full investigation, and a few weeks later, he was stopped and apprehended while driving Sony's car. Initially, he was detained on federal charges of being a felon in possession of a gun, but on February 9th, 2014, he was finally sentenced to life in prison for the role that he played in the tragic murder of Sony Millbrook. "My family's lives have been changed forever," reads an article purportedly written by Sony's relative. "Holidays and relationships with family members would never be the same. Sony will forever go down in history as the woman whose lifeless remains were found stuffed underneath a hotel bed. But for her family and friends, she was a heartwarming figure and a caring, loving woman gone too soon, leaving behind 4 young children: Cleopatra, Christian, Lakeith, and Colby." Our next story takes place in Mexico City, a sprawling metropolis and the largest city in Mexico, as well as the most populous city in North America. In 2016, though, Mexico City made headlines for an entirely different reason: the discovery of human remains stuffed underneath a hotel bed. Situated in the Doctores neighborhood of Mexico City, El Senador is one of the most prominent hotels there thanks to their slew of modern amenities and incredible room furnishings. Their guests, however, are notorious for leaving behind some rather questionable items, all of which are picked up by housekeeping staff. The department may be used to cleaning a whole host of disgusting stains, spills, and marks, but they weren't really prepared to deal with a crime scene. The remains of a woman aged between 25 and 30 was found wrapped in plastic under one of the hotel's beds. The cleaning staff had made the gruesome discovery after the room started emitting a foul stench, so they lifted the mattress to find themselves face to face with the victim's remains. During the time that we believe the woman was under the bed, several people checked into the room and slept with the remains underneath the bed, said a spokesperson from El Senador. While the date of the discovery and the victim's identity have never been made public, a coroner's report did state that she had lost her life by suffocation. Authorities also claim that the hotel's surveillance footage showed her walking into Hotel El Senador accompanied by a man who remains the primary suspect. His name and face, though, have never been disclosed. The third story takes place in Pattaya, Thailand, a city considered one of the world's top tourist destinations. The island is world-renowned for its buzzing nightlife, going so far as to be nicknamed Sin City by locals and visitors alike. But guests at a local hotel may not have shared the same sentiments after learning that they had spent a night sleeping on top of human remains. On August 20th, a maid was cleaning a room when she noticed a red blotch near the bed. Upon further investigation, she uncovered a victim's remains stuffed underneath the mattress, a chilling discovery that prompted her to alert the hotel manager and the police at once. The lifeless remains belonged to Amphong Kongsung, a local transgender woman whom authorities believed to have been no longer alive for 3 or 4 days. Initially, the country's news outlets reported that 2 men had checked into the hotel on August 16th, taking the victim to their room in the wee hours of August 18th. When they checked out later that morning, staff assumed that the woman who accompanied them had already left the building. The following day, 2 guests checked into the room, complaining about its foul odor and insisting that it be generously sprayed before they spent the night. The discovery was only made the next morning when housekeeping did their rounds. On August 21st, 2 teenage boys aged 17 and 14 were apprehended by police at a bus terminal in the Muangchangburi district. Both suspects were from Nakhon Ratchasima and were accused of murdering Amphoe. The Muang Pattaya police chief, Pol Kol Apiche Krophet, alleged that the older boy admitted to murdering Amphoe, helped by the younger teenager. He had come to know the victim through Facebook, claiming that she had persuaded him to find a job in Pattaya, and even brought them food during their first few nights in the city. He further stated that his rejection of her advances angered the woman, which led to a fierce argument that escalated into a physical altercation. He suffocated her in a fit of rage, while the 14-year-old boy subdued her by holding onto her legs. Realizing what they had done, they hid Amphoe's remains under the mattress and fled the hotel. Both teenagers had previous records of assault cases, which were still pending before the court. They were further charged with the premeditated murder of Amphoe Kongsung and the concealment of her remains. Charges of robbery and theft were also considered by the authorities in case such evidence was discovered. This next story involves not a customer, but the tragic fate of 2 hotel employees, Haresh Shetty and Naresh Pandit. Haresh Shetty and Naresh Pandit worked as waiters in a hotel located in Mira Road, an area found in the Mumbai metropolitan region of Maharashtra, India. On June 4th, 2020, the remains of the 2 men were found floating in the hotel's 10,000-liter water tank, their injuries pointing to nothing but murder. They had been staying in the establishment along with a few other staffers when the state went into lockdown following the COVID-19 global pandemic. According to the police, they had been alerted to the scene by the owner of the hotel, who, after receiving an anonymous tip, discovered the decomposing remains. Preliminary investigations confirmed that the 2 victims had injuries to their heads and stab wounds, both of which pointed to foul play. Based on circumstantial evidence, the police claim that one of the victims was murdered in his sleep, and that more than one perpetrator was likely involved. Their primary suspect, though, remained to be a 3rd hotel staffer, who had gone missing the day the remains were discovered. Repeated attempts by the owner to contact him failed, and we are trying to apprehend him, said the police in a press statement. He had mentioned to the owner earlier that he was going to leave for his hometown on June 1st, and it is possible that he left as per his plans. However, the level of decomposition of the remains places the time of death around the same date, the police officer continued. Hence, we need to make inquiries with him to confirm or eliminate him as a suspect. Investigations into this matter are still ongoing. Our last hotel story takes place on November 22nd, 2017, at a Wausau, Wisconsin Village Inn. Daniel Allen was staying there with his companion, Brian Keenest. Unfortunately, Keenest overdosed on heroin. Allen reacted swiftly and tried to revive Keenest with Narcan, a drug used to counteract the lethal drug's effect. When it didn't work, Allen freaked out and left Keenest's remains in the room that he was renting before locking himself in another room across the hall. Naturally, the owner of the Village Inn called the police to remove Allen. Once he had been taken away, authorities searched the room that he had left behind, but ignored the actual room he was renting, the one that contained the remains of Brian Keenest.
Keenest was reported missing on November 22nd from Adams County. That's about 6 months ago, and authorities are not sure who or where he has been since that time. Now, the Marathon County Sheriff's Office says they believe he was in Marathon the week of Thanksgiving, but authorities haven't heard from him since. They are asking for your help to try to fill in the blanks.
Allen was arrested that day for disorderly conduct, but returned to the Village Inn later that day to move Keenest's remains from the room he was renting to the closet in the room where he had barricaded himself in. 5 months later, on April 19, 2018, the hotel owner discovered what he had left behind. A foul smell had prompted him to investigate the room, upon which the decaying remains were uncovered in the room's closet. On April 24th, investigators talked with a man imprisoned in the Buffalo County Jail who had been listed on the room rental where Allen had stayed. According to the suspect, Allen had confessed to him that, paralyzed with fear he would be blamed for Keenest's overdose, he had hidden the young man's remains in the room and fled. He also claimed that he had turned down Allen's request for help in moving the remains from the hotel, wanting no part in the incident. On August 27, 2019, Allen was charged with hiding the lifeless remains of Brian Keenest, a Class F felony in Wisconsin that carries a 12.5-year jail term. He was currently serving a 7-year prison sentence for unrelated drug-related charges, but if convicted of this one, faces the prospect of spending an overall total of 18.5 years in prison. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. A playlist is going to pop up right now with more videos you'll love. See you guys next time.